Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Order the meeting of the Finance Committee on September 10th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. The first item of business is approval of minutes. I'll need a motion on the draft minutes of August 27, 2024.
I'll move approval on the minutes.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the draft minutes say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next item is public appearances for non-agenda items. We have no one in chamber and no one online, so we can move on to item 4, Finance Director Report, including the annual continuing disclosure filing for 2024. Misty?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll start with that document that's included in the packet. So this is an annual requirement if we have outstanding external debt, which of course we do. Ellers helps us do the filing. The two big things that are included in here is our updated property valuations and our updated debt limit. We also have to file our ACFR, our audit report, each year, but that's already been filed. So this gets filed up on what's called EMMA. It's a website that's available for all of the bond issuers and purchasers and underwriters and everybody to have access to a clearinghouse of information. So wanted to share that with you guys, let you know we met that requirement, and I'll pause if there's questions.
Yeah, so the list of promissory notes, et cetera, are those the current balances or the original amounts from those dates? And if so, like, is there a status on what the current balance is on all of those?
Yep. So that is the balance as of when it was issued. If you look on the next page, there's an outstanding amount in total that's there. So that's so it calculates the statutory debt limit, and then there's the less general obligation debt. So the $62,685,000 was the outstanding amount as of the date of this report. And then included in our audit, there's a couple of different places where it's listed by issuance that's available as of the end of the year.
You can continue.
Excellent. Only other thing to report is, of course, we are in the final stretches of working through the mayor's proposed 2025 budget. So that gets released out onto the website on Friday.
Wow.
Next Friday, not this Friday, thank goodness. Next Friday. And then we'll go through the rest of the process. So working through those last kind of updates and modifications and getting that document put together.
I cannot believe it's already budget time.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. What has happened?
Right. Goes fast.
September. Any questions? All right, we can move on to item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of all checks for $10,000 and above for August 16th to the 31st, 2024, totaling $634,961.39. Questions or comments? Bill?
I just had one. So I saw a mention of the library chiller on page 2 of 2 for the 10,000 and up section, page 9 of the agenda packet. Is that it was like, in total it's $83,000. I know that the grand total for that installation was much more than that. So is this like final payment after punch list items and stuff?
Yep, so it's still not the final payment because we haven't paid out retainage yet. The total project was I think $400,000 to $500,000. So yes, this is just one of the later in the project, but installation payments on it.
All right, seeing no more questions, we can move on to 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 127415 to 127470, August 16th to 31st, 2024, totaling $710,148.44. Questions or comments? Seeing none, moving on to 5C, detailed review of all ACH payments for $10,000 and above for August 1st to the 31st, 2024, totaling $627,973.47. Questions? Moving on to 5D, detailed review of all ACH payments from August 1st to 31st, 2024, totaling $634,451.98. Questions or comments? Seeing none, we can move on to action items. 6A, I will need a motion on Resolution R-13524, approving the grant application and requirements for the 2024 Urban Forestry Grant.
Move approval.
Moved by Alder Wheeler. And are we going to turn it over to Scott, our Parks Director?
Sure.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. This resolution is one of the requirements that is needed to submit the grant application to the DNR. Anna has worked on this grant. It is due on October 1st. It is a total project cost of under $50,000. It is a 50-50 grant in that the city, they need to come up with 50% of the cost, which we will in kind with Anna's salary. And at the end of the day, the goal is to have the city create a strategic management forestry program for the urban forestry. And really, at this point, the city has a lot of the different components of the urban forestry plan, if you would, inventory, preservation ordinances, 30% canopy requirements, a lot of pieces of the urban forestry program is put together. But what this document would do would be a kind of a clearinghouse, or it'd be the management plan that would be approved by the Common Council at some point, but then provide some guidance and support to the staff. So that's really the goal of having this strategic management plan. And Anna has worked to try and get it, get some dollars from the grant program to make it happen.
Great, Scott. One question. So this is the grant is for $50,000 that we would match 50%, or it's for a $25,000 grant and we'd have to match it $25,000? Correct.
It's about the total project cost is $49,932, but half of that would be our in-kind match, and then the DNR would give us the other half.
And you said the in-kind match can be on a salary contribution?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow, that's very nice. Any other questions from the committee? Bill?
Just a comment that more trees are better. I think anybody who walked through a park this summer in the heat appreciated the parts where they were in the shade. And so I think this is great.
Next step in doing a great forestry management in our city, which we're doing well already, but we can always do better. So awesome. Seeing no more questions or comments, we can move to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R-13524, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Moving on to item 6B, I'll need a motion on Resolution R-14724, approving Emerald Ash Borer EAB Management Plan Update 2024.
I'll move approval of Resolution R-14724.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. And send it back to Scott.
Yep. Thank you. This is another one of the forestry division initiatives. The Emerald Ash Borer, actually, the city did create a plan, a readiness plan, back in 2010. To give you a little bit of a history, the Emerald Ash Borer was discovered in the city in 2017. And then at that point, the Forestry Department created an Emerald Ash Borer management plan. And really what the components of the plan include assessment of the trees, and then treatment of trees that we feel could be treated, removal of other trees, and then certainly replacement of the trees that are removed. And what's been really helpful with this plan is that at the end of the day, all the ash trees will be removed, but the management of how we did it really made it cost effective. We're able to, keep the removals to a minimum, and by treating the trees that could take the treatment, that kind of extends their life until we can get to them in regards to removal. And it's really the update still includes those management strategies, but it does give an update in regards to the number of ash trees within the community. And we have about 299 ash trees, public street ash trees still remaining, with only 11 of them in our parks. So we're getting to the end here.
Wow, I didn't realize that we eventually will lose all of the ash trees. That's very sad.
Yeah.
But it's what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, glad that we're managing that. Bill, or sorry, did you raise your hand?
Sure.
Bill.
So I guess just broader picture, I mean, what is the fate of ash trees in our entire country? Are they bound for extinction?
I don't. Well, if you remember the Dutch elm, that was kind of the previous species that was kind of removed, but they did create disease resilient elms. So maybe at some point they might do a disease resistant ash. I'm not too up on whether it's a different root structure and then you graft it onto a trunk of an ash tree, or but at this point, the ash trees are going to be extinct, if you would, as they currently are. But hopefully with similar to what the elm tree was able to do, they might come up with a hybrid so we can get back to those purple ashes and things that are really, really, really pretty in the fall.
Seeing no more comments or questions, we can take it to a vote. All in favor of Resolution R14724, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on, thanks, Scott. Moving on to 6C, Resolution R15124, approving a 2-year agreement with Quantum Workplace to provide employee survey software.
I move approval.
Moved by Alder Wheeler and our HR Director, Sarah.
Hi, good evening. And I'm really excited to be here because this is software we're really excited to bring forth to employees. So our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Employee Resource Group identified the need to ask employees what are their needs when it comes to DEI. Not only that, but engagement and what they think of their leaders. We haven't ever surveyed city staff to see what their engagement levels are, and kind of just test the waters, get a temperature of the workplace. So this software would be a 2-year agreement with Quantum Workplace. Quantum has been doing this work for decades. So over 2 decades, we've had multiple demonstrations. They just signed on with the city of Sun Prairie as well. And it's not just engagement surveys and DEI surveys. We can also provide exit questionnaires. We can do 30, 60, 90-day check-ins for new hires. So there's so many opportunities for surveying staff to get feedback, because that's the best thing we can do is get feedback from employees so that we can make the workplace better. We can retain our staff, make sure the employees have the tools that they need, that they're happy in their positions, and then that just helps drive business success. So it's $17,000 per year. It's a 2-year contract. We're hoping it goes really well, and we can continue a partnership with Quantum Workplace. I had an ERG meeting this afternoon, and we're all really excited about the opportunity to start getting feedback. So once we get this feedback on the DEI part of it, we can know what types of trainings do staff need. What kind of presenters can we bring in? Right now, we really don't know what the needs are. So the ERG is kind of struggling with, what do staff need? What do they want? So this gives us an opportunity to gather that feedback. So any questions for me?
Bill?
So once you've got this, in the agenda packet, it lists the particular features that we'll have access to, but you can do as few or as many as you like. It's just the
Exactly.
The flat fee per year.
Exactly. Yep. You can administer as many surveys as you like. You're not limited. And yeah, on the whole gamut, exit questionnaires to check-ins with new hires to just a general culture engagement survey to one that's particular just to DEI efforts. So yeah, we have a lot of opportunity, and they have all of the survey feedback information from other employers. So we can also be able to look at other municipalities and other employers to measure how we are doing. Because it's one thing to get this feedback, it's another to know, well, what does this mean, right? Is this really terrible? Is this similar to what other employers our size are experiencing? So that's the other nice part about Quantum, is they have that information in their system.
And they give you kind of default survey questions for these types?
Yep. They've built all of this. It's all validated. So we're not creating survey questions. They have large banks of them, and they can help us walk through, giving employee surveys that aren't super time consuming and complicated. We want people to respond, so we got to keep it short, but we have to make sure the questions can give us information that we can work with. So, yep, they're specialists in all those questions.
Anytime we have a survey, like Adam has sent out a survey, and he sent us a reminder about that today. And I don't remember if that was a SurveyMonkey or a Google form or what that was, but I mean, would the entire city use this for all survey capabilities, or would we continue to kind of do other stuff differently?
Yeah, this is mainly HR, engagement, culture, exits, onboarding. So it's not meant to be replacing SurveyMonkey or any other type of surveying tool that the city uses.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we can go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R-15124, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is 6D, Resolution R-15224, approving agreement with Pelletieri for the 2025 to 2029 solid waste and recycling contract. Can I get a motion?
I'll move approval on Resolution R-15224.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. I did want to note that we do have a registration form for Todd Bollenbach from Pelletieri, here to answer questions if we need him. And I believe we'll turn it over to our environmental engineer, Ben.
All right, well, thank you. So as described in the title, this is approving a contract or agreement with Pelletieri for solid waste collection services in years 25 through the end of 29, so 5 years. The current contract with Pelletieri expires on December 31st of this year. The city advertised the request for proposals through Quest CDN, advertised legal notices in the Wisconsin State Journal, and we received only one proposal from Pelletieri. We did have some other plan holders who declined to submit a proposal on this. So essentially, we'll be looking at what services we should go forward with in these future years. Right now, we've got solid waste, recycling, yard waste collection, and brush collection. So I'll just go through quick, describe any changes to the program that's being recommended. So as far as solid waste goes, no changes are recommended. Continuing with the current pickup schedule. So nothing new there. For recycling, that's where we do have a little bit of a different recommendation compared to past years. This has to do with the unlimited recycling program that the city has with Pelletieri. And basically this involves, if you've got your recycling cart already filled up, you could put clear plastic bags filled with recyclables next to the cart, and they would also be picked up at no additional cost to the resident. So the reason this unlimited recycling is recommended to be eliminated in future years is just based on the cost compared to just, I guess I'll call it the standard recycling service, where additional bags would cost, I believe, $4 per bag. So that's the same as refuse. If you have an additional bag of trash, that's going to cost you $4. But there is a pretty significant cost difference for this unlimited recycling program. It costs about $40,000 more than a standard recycling program. As far as what that means to residents, if your goal is to keep the fund balance the same, or rather a neutral impact on the fund balance, you would have to basically charge $6 more annually per resident, or per unit rather, to pay for this recycling program. And in addition, we did get some data from Pelletieri, and we're able to determine that it's about 1% to 2% of properties that are utilizing this service, so a pretty small fraction. And then just anecdotally, we've observed that many of the additional bags of recycling that have been sent out have been primarily cardboard, which of course can be recycled at no cost to residents at the recycling drop-off site. In addition, residents would have the ability to upsize their cart. The standard cart size for recycling is a 65-gallon cart. For a one-time fee of $25, residents would have an option to upgrade to a 95-gallon cart if they find that they're routinely filling their cart more than its capacity. As far as yard waste goes, there's another change here being recommended. So currently there's 2 yard waste collections in the spring and 2 in the fall. The recommendation here is to add an additional fall pickup. There's been numerous residents that have reached out that feel there should be an extra yard waste pickup in fall. And in addition to that, having 3 yard waste pickups in the fall would allow the city of Fitchburg to apply for a phosphorus reduction credit through the DNR. I haven't quantified exactly what that reduction would look like, but you could imagine there'd be some cost savings with this additional credit. It'll help the city get closer to meeting their total maximum daily load waste load allocations set by the EPA. So that would be just kind of another small benefit to adding a 3rd yard waste pickup. Brush pickup, the recommendation is to stay the same. So there's currently 14 brush collections per year, and again, no change there. And then as far as bulk pickup, we did get prices to see what it would be to have, one day a month or various times throughout the year, a day where residents, or a week where residents could set up bulk items, mattresses, refrigerators, couches, things of that nature. And the recommendation here is to continue with the current program, which is rather than having these set days, we would just have it via appointment, so the resident would get in contact with Pelletieri or a different waste hauler if they wish, and then just schedule it by themselves. As far as future costs, if you go with the services recommended in this memo, you'd be looking at a 3.5% cost increase for these services from 2025 each year to 2029. And it's a pretty consistent 3.5% increase. Looking at 2024 compared to 2025, if the staff recommendation is followed, then there would be a decrease in contractor costs per household of $1.60 in 2025 compared to 2024. So I think that's just kind of a summary of the recommendation here, and if there's any questions about anything, be happy to answer them.
Thanks so much, Ben. I do have a couple of questions. First, in terms of the unlimited recycling, getting rid of the unlimited recycling, I think that's a good choice. I'm curious, in terms of communication about it, do we have a plan to let people know that there's the change? And if people do put it out, what happens?
Right. So the plan to notify residents of any changes to the program in general of next year would be sending out a mailer. So this mailer would include the calendar for 2025 as well as a summary of any changes that are put into place, and that would go to every resident or every property that's under this contract.
Great. Also, in terms of the yard waste, if I'm not mistaken, we have had discussions in the past about, because people have to bag their yard waste. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that still is true going forward?
Bag or put in some kind of a cart or receptacle.
Because it has to be picked up and put into a truck versus sucked
Correct.
up. I know we had a discussion about potentially investing in, at RCC,
Yes.
in past years about doing a sucker. I know the waste associated with bagging it is not necessarily the best thing for the city, but obviously that's just the reality for the contract with Pelletary. What was that a part of the conversation?
Yeah, staff looked into that just internally, reached out to some other communities that do have a leaf vacuum, got some prices for what a leaf vacuum costs, talked with operations teams to figure out, what kind of level of effort, how many man hours are you putting in to get this done. And what we determined is at this time, there's not a fiscal advantage, at least, of purchasing these vacuum trucks or vacuum trailers or what have you, when you look at the amount of staff time that would be involved.
Okay, so that could shift over in the future.
I think it's something that, would best be periodically reinvestigated.
Great. But theoretically, we wouldn't really take a look at that seriously until after 2029, when this contract expires?
If there was renewed interest, I think it certainly could be looked at any time.
We could potentially amend the contract to change things up.
And I believe, and maybe this is where Todd can jump in here, but I believe the contract stipulates for both brush and yard waste that if the city wanted to go a different direction, we would just have to notify them in advance, essentially.
If you want to come up to the mic.
Yeah, take a seat.
Thank you. There we go. If the city ever wanted to look at doing your own services for that, we would just require a 12-month notice, because we do purchase those vehicles, schedule those times. Those are certain routing dates that we plan, that we try to lock in, and we don't want to overlap with other communities. So, yes, if in 3 years you're like, we'd really like to look at getting our truck and doing this ourselves, we're very flexible. We'd be happy to work with you on that. We do just require about a year's notice on that from a scheduling standpoint.
Great. Thank you. Sorry, I any other questions? Bill or Jim?
Well, I guess maybe a question for Pelletary. So do you not, or I guess why wouldn't you currently be using these vacuum trucks? I mean, if the guys who do this for a living aren't doing it, there might be a valid reason.
Well, for us, the reason is, equipment, time, crews. We don't just send one crew around your city. We probably have 3 different crews in rear load trucks, and we can use these trucks for multiple purposes. So we can send multiple units out. Logistically for us, it doesn't make sense to purchase I live in Middleton, and they come around, the city comes around and does have the vacuum armed trucks. I know they have some issues with them from time to time. For us, it's literally being able to utilize the staff that we have, the equipment that we already have. For us, we just haven't found a need that we needed to purchase those vacuum trucks, because we'd have to purchase probably 3 or 4 of them, not one.
So what becomes of all those plastic bags? Are those reliably recycled?
The plastic bags, no, those are going to be, you're talking like a big black, like garbage bag.
Right, if people put,
Correct, those
their
are
leaves in
not
them.
recyclable from that standpoint. We will return them if people want to reuse those again, and so typically homeowners will leave like a rock or something underneath it. We can leave them so their bags aren't blowing around the neighborhood ideally. But if there's no note or anything there, we will take them with us, and those do get, those are waste, those are not recyclable. I know residents can buy like a paper bag that you can just throw the whole bag in. It can get a little expensive, but you can get those for $1, $2 a bag pretty easily. Hold a decent amount of stuff.
We do hand out bags, is that correct, Ben? Or people can pick up a couple from City Hall?
Yeah, so the city has some pretty nice, like a woven material, very durable, reusable bags. Residents are able to pick up one for free at City Hall, and I believe each additional bag we essentially sell, I think it's $2.50 a bag.
Those are almost like a mini bulk sack.
Exactly, and
those
will last many pickups.
And so I live in a condo, so I do not do the leaf pickup. So for people that are curious, the bags, you actually put the leaves in the truck and then actually leave the bag behind?
Correct.
Okay. So if they do get a reusable bag, they
Absolutely.
can continue
And
using
we
it
encourage it, yeah.
Cool. Sounds like something that hopefully people will be able to pick up on. Questions? Any other questions? Well, excited to work with Pelletary. You guys have been great.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
So happy to see you guys continuing. All in favor of resolution, R15224, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Moving on to item 6E, I'll need a motion on resolution R15324, authorizing the purchase of a 2025 Hyundai Iconic all-wheel drive electric vehicle from U.S. Fleet Vehicle Source, Inc.
I move approval.
Moved by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, or I saw Tim.
I think I'll take this one.
Okay, Misty.
Yep. So earlier this year, Council approved a budget amendment resolution that utilized some of our remaining ARPA funds in order to invest more in an electrified fleet for the city. Looking at what the options are on state contract, which really streamlines the purchasing process that's required under federal grant requirements. We looked at the state contract for 3 different vehicles. They're under 2 different resolutions because it's 2 different vendors. This first one is the purchase of 1 vehicle. It will go to the assessing department. They're out in the field very frequently, and having this electric vehicle will provide value to them. The next resolution, if you don't mind me just jumping to that one too, and we'll kind of do both at the same time. The next resolution is for 2 additional vehicles. These are all-wheel vehicles. One would go to the police department and one would go to the building inspection department. Those departments need just something a little more rugged in order to meet their needs, but assessing is very happy with this different vehicle. So after these 3 vehicles are purchased, next steps would be there's a team of staff working together to figure out what charging might look like here at City Hall and at other city facilities. I believe they have a meeting this week to help kind of figure that out. It's going to take a while for these vehicles to show up, so we feel like we have some time. And then honestly, in my view, we've got the charge points here too, just at City Hall, so in a tight spot, we'd always be able to charge there as well. And then we do have chargers down at the maintenance facility too. So first purchasing these 3 vehicles, getting in the queue because the ARPA funds have to be obligated by the end of the year. Then we'll look at EV charging, and then we'll see how we're looking compared to budget. And if possible, we might look to purchase another vehicle at that point.
I'll just say I'm very excited about electric vehicles, which is probably the least surprising thing that you've heard. We've been talking about this for a long time, so happy that we're finally investing in it. I'm curious about the use of ARPA funds. I know that we did allocate the money, but is there a reason? I know we have to purchase these vehicles and we save for that as well. Is there a reason that we wouldn't use some of the normal vehicle funds, or are we able to buy something earlier than we hope to because of the ARPA funds?
Right, so there's all in all, it's a relatively large purchase price for all of the vehicles that we want to purchase with the charging infrastructure. So there isn't enough set aside in that electric and hybrid fund quite yet. And we do have that ARPA funding that has a clock on it. So we have to obligate all of that money by the end of this year and cash out the door by the end of 2026. So we thought this was a good use of that one-time fund to kind of bolster up that program. And then future replacements are already built into the CIP that you guys just adopted a couple of months ago, because the plan would be, of course, that these vehicles would stay. So we're using the ARPA funds for this initial purchase, and then there'll be levy funds for the future replacements.
Okay, so we didn't have money set aside for these, for just regular vehicles, regular.
No, these are all
gas-powered
additions
vehicles.
to the fleet.
Okay, all additions to the fleet. And then for the infrastructure, will you be using that hybrid funds, or you will have ARPA funds to do that?
ARPA funds as well is the plan.
Great.
And then if there's additional ARPA funds left, we may purchase another vehicle as well.
Okay. Other questions? Bill?
Yeah, so I had asked at the Board of Public Works meeting, how are we charging our current vehicles? And Tim mentioned there were 2 charging stations in the Public Works facility. And I think he said that between the 2 of them, it was like a $4,000 installation cost or something. So that seemed fairly minimal. And I don't know if that was like facilitated a little extra easy because of the nature of that, where they went, or, how much do we think ballpark each charging point is going to cost elsewhere in the city?
So I don't have the answer to that. I can say that the 2 chargers down at the maintenance facility, Ford helped us put those in because we purchased the Lightnings from them. The difference there is that there's a spot for it inside the building, so they just connected it to the building. Here at City Hall and possibly at the library, first we need to figure out where they're going to go and how that's going to work. And then I know they're also exploring the idea of having one out in the back parking lot attached to the street light. So just not sure how that will work. Down at the maintenance facility, it's a very, I don't want to say isolated, but it's a protected area, so you don't have to worry about other vehicles using that infrastructure. We're here at City Hall at the library, we would have to make sure that it is used for just city purposes. So there's a little bit of a difference. I suspect it will be a little bit more expensive, but the team's working to figure out exactly what that would look like.
Anything else? No?
Do we know what's the recommended number of charging stations for a given fleet size? Is it like 1 for every 2 cars, every 5 cars?
I'm not part of the team that's exploring how the charging piece is going to work, but I'm sure we could get back to you.
Anything else? All right, seeing nothing, we will take a vote. All in favor of Resolution R-15324, which is for the assessing vehicle, say aye.
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 Motion carries. And then I will need a motion on the next resolution, R-15424, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 Ford all-wheel drive electric vehicles from Ewald Automotive Group.
I'll move approval on Resolution R-15424.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. Any questions? I know we had a discussion, but anything additional? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Bill.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. So do we know what the insurance is going to be like for these vehicles? And I mean, the Mustang caught my eye. That's typically a sports car, and it may be more to insure, but I mean, the purchase price is not that dissimilar to the Ioniq. I'm just wondering, how much is it, compared to maybe a less sporty EV, and how does it compare to a typical ICE vehicle?
I'm not aware of that answer either. I'll say we get our auto insurance through CIVMIC, which is a consortium of municipalities. I believe, though I should verify, that we pay the same rate. It's just based on replacement cost, not necessarily what type of vehicle it is. So it probably would be the same if the replacement cost is about the same for a combustion engine vehicle, but I can verify that too.
Anything additional? Yep.
So one of these is for the police department. Do we have funds already set aside to outfit that vehicle, or is this not a squad car? This
Correct.
is good. Okay.
This is not a squad car. This would be more of a fleet vehicle.
Okay.
All right, last minute questions? Anything else? No? Okay, all in favor of resolution R-15424, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Moving on to the last resolution, I'll need a motion on resolution R-15824, approval of Wisconsin Park and Recreation Association ticket program payment.
I move approval.
Moved by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, are you going to handle this? Oh,
Nope,
Scott. Scott's here. Hi, Scott.
Good evening. This is the discount ticket program that's offered through our state association. The Fitchburg Recreation Department does participate in this program, and this year, for the first time, we did have to get a resolution because we met the threshold of issuing over a $25,000 check to WPRA. And actually, the Recreation Department, they sold over 1,300 tickets to these summer attractions over the summer. The Fitchburg Recreation Department does receive 75 cents per ticket, so we did have a profit of almost $1,000 for these sales. But it really is these tickets have to be purchased either with cash or by check. So the residents do have to stop into the Recreation Department to purchase the tickets, but it certainly is a successful and the community really appreciates the opportunity to get the discounted tickets to these attractions.
Wonderful. I was surprised by how many tickets were sold. It's interesting because it's the first time we've had to look at it, but it's also the first time I feel like I've ever gotten numbers on these because I know this program has been going on for a while, so that's exciting.
Well, and you can imagine the amount of dollars the state association receives. Although the number of departments that participate, I don't think it's as many as it used to be because it is a bit of extra work, but certainly I think it's worth the PR to get the residents into the office, and we do make make $1,000 on it, so I think it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, I think it's more about the engagement too, and getting people to think about the recreation department as how they recreate more broadly outside of the city parks, et cetera. Are there any other questions?
Well,
comments? Go ahead, Scott.
Well, just it's like a $30 discount, which is crazy in comparison to the gate. So it definitely is a benefit to purchase them through the Park and Rec Department.
Wonderful. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we can take a vote. All in favor of resolution R-15824, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. Next
Thank
item.
you guys.
Thanks, Scott. Next item is item 7, announcements. 7A, next finance meeting will be September 24th, 2024. If there's no other announcements, seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move adjournment.
Moved by Alder Jetzer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:42 p.m. Thank you.